dear Bagginses and Boffins.
Well, obviously, they're deviating quite a bit from that. So first, let's take a look at the characters. We have Durin the Fourth, who eventually becomes the fourth king of Khazad-dûm. All right, that looks pretty good. And this, believe it or not, is what Amazon calls the politically ambitious, I don't like the sound of that, Elrond half-elven, played by Robert Armayo. It was...
You just found out. Let me go back
I
to
didn't
this.
know. I did not know that guy was Elrond. Yeah.
So I swear we talked about this, but maybe not. I remember sending you some information about Elrond that I was rediscovering from rewatching the Hobbit movies. But do you want to say anything about this other than the hair is ambitious?
I mean, I thought you kind of looked like Jaime Lannister a bit in the trailer.
Yeah, me too. The thing is, again, this is similar to what we talked about with Galadriel. This is a much younger, and this is specifically a very much younger Elrond, and so he might go through a similar change, although he still maintains some of his warrior aspects. I mean, heck, we see him fighting in the prologues of the original trilogy, and we also see him fighting in the Hobbit movies. He comes out, the dwarves are being chased by orcs. He comes out with a group of elves on horseback, and they kill these orcs. So he continues some of his fighting prowess even into the Peter Jackson movies. But what it looks like here, and based on the reading, the politically ambitious young leader, what it seems like is he, instead of fighting in this, he is going to be a bit more of the behind the scenes type of political leader, in that he's going to be going and talking to different characters and maybe not necessarily fighting all the time. I'm just sort of, because we both kind of agreed that Galadriel might have been better suited as a mage, maybe Elrond should have been the sword wielder to that group, or do you think it's better to separate them since we need to cover some ground? It's a tough call, right? Because you either have them all stick together, in which case you're basically doing the Fellowship, or if you separate them, then you can have a bit more of a Games of Thronesy type feel, where you bounce from place to place that has different things happening.
Yeah, I think you would want to separate them for the sake of the story.
Yeah, exactly, and we see that in the original trilogy as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and back to is it the showrunners for this that are proteges of J.J. Abrams?
Yeah, do you want to talk about J.J. Abrams?
No, I mean, I mean, controversial figure, I guess.
Yeah, that's a
or
nice way
or
to say it.
maybe he got to where he is by being very uncontroversial. I don't know.
I mean, nowadays he's controversial. I guess we can say that.
Yeah.
Yes, these guys are either protege. So they worked on a script on a Star Trek movie.
Honestly, you half expect J.J. Abrams just to be the guy making this show.
The fact that I am actually surprised that they went with a newer writing team similar to Game of Thrones. Maybe that's why they figured it works for Game of Thrones. Let's go in a similar direction.
It worked with Game of Thrones until they ran out of source material, and now they have no source material for this. They have no rights.
Yeah, so that's where this is a bit of a different beast, because you have the budget right off the bat. Like, so Game of Thrones had a small budget to start. Here they have the budget right off the bat, and yeah, the Game of Thrones writers had a lot of really good dialogue lifted directly from the books. Here, they cannot lift dialogue from the books because it will be completely out of time. It'll be a quote of someone in the future, which essentially means that when you go back and watch the original trilogy, if they had quotes from those books in this show, the people in those movies would be quoting someone within world, and it wouldn't work. Like, you cannot be using quotes unless it's something that is like
it would just be it's memes. That's what that is.
yeah, no, it wouldn't make sense. Like, unless it's a line that is,
which is what Star Wars does all the time. They quote themselves all the time.
yeah.
Especially in the cartoons, they'll just be like, "You should try spitting. That's a good trick." They'll just do stuff like that, and you're just like, Jesus. Or they'll always say, "I have a bad feeling about this." It'll be like that. It'll be like, I don't know, some character's gonna say, "Would you like me to find you a box?" I don't know.
Yeah. He shows up and meets.
And they can do it in a completely different context. So it doesn't even need to. It can be like, I don't know. They go shopping for potatoes, another meme.
Yep.
And he's like, "Oh, I really like a lot. I would like a lot of potatoes." And they could say, "I could find you a box."
Was that going to make this show better or worse?
That would be neutral to me, actually.
Yeah. So I think. So here's the thing, and I think I kind of want to get more through this a little bit. So we'll quickly do this. But so for me, the show is either going to really bring back the feeling of the original trilogy, and I hope it does. I hope this is like going back and watching the trilogy again from the beginning, not knowing what I'm getting into until it happens, and I hope it feels the same way. But at the very least, I want it to be entertaining, and I was very critical of The Hobbit when I first saw them in theaters. Upon rewatching, they're entertaining films. They entertain me. I don't take them nearly as serious, and I think once you have that mindset, you can actually enjoy them, which is something I've been critical of fans for doing. So I have completely reversed my position. If you enjoy the Hobbit trilogy, have at it. It doesn't feel the same. I think we all have to agree they do not feel the same, because they're not. Perfect example is the goblins in the first Hobbit movie are singing when they capture these dwarves, and these are ridiculous songs. It doesn't make any sense. Like, these goblins have just caught a dwarf that they're now going to try to sell to the orcs, and they're singing these ridiculous songs about Goblin Town, down in Goblin Town. Like, it's so silly. But once you embrace it, and it's just silliness, away you go. There are still moments that break lore for me, as we've talked about. But I think once you, like you said with this, you would be indifferent if they just did memes. We could all just sit back and watch it and just have a laugh every week as the show comes out, and then go back and watch the original trilogy if we really wanted to feel that again. And so it at least has to be entertaining and not lore breaking. And I think those are the only criteria for this to actually end up working out to some degree. But if it's the last season of Game of Thrones, it's going to be awful. So I just wanted to be clear. It does, just because it's set in Lord of the Rings for me, doesn't make it good.
And I can't imagine like the politically ambitious Elrond. I mean, I don't.
When I hear that, it's just sorry. Go ahead.
I just don't get the vision of Lord of the Rings having any democratic elements. I don't know what an ambitious politician even does.
I'm imagining a Littlefinger-esque.
Okay, it could be a Littlefinger. But I was thinking like, I mean, I don't know why I'm thinking of this, but I'm thinking of like a William Wilberforce, who's like, he's the British politician who like abolished slavery, and he's got like an epic story of like, oh, I'm torn between becoming a priest or a politician, and then he's convinced by his minister that he can do more good staying in politics, and he stays in politics and gets slavery abolished. I don't know, when you tell me you have a politically ambitious Elrond, for some reason I think of like a Wilberforce, but there's no social justice issue like that I can think of in Lord of the Rings.
Well, in the teaser, we do see the black elf in chains. So,
so he's trying to get this is getting stupid though.
yeah, so I think we're in agreement that we don't want that. We do not want a story that is legit grounded in reality but is being played out in Middle Earth. We don't want that. I think we can sympathize with Nerdrotic here in that if that's the way it goes, I think it won't be great. For me, the wording there, I think they are trying to draw in the Game of Thrones people, because when I see politically ambitious, I immediately think there's a lot of characters in Game of Thrones that are trying to climb that ladder and become to sit on the Iron Throne. And so for me, I think it's more of like him trying to prove himself by maybe either forming some alliance with dwarves or unifying elves. Maybe the elves factions have been split into a bunch of groups. Some feel that you shouldn't be inviting other races in and talking with them. Some are want to be completely isolated, and he's trying to like unify them. That's sort of what the vibe I'm getting from him. And
just a fully armored warrior Galadriel, who was described as the commander of the northern armies. To give you a little context, I want you to imagine a fully armored, battle-tested warrior Virgin Mary. As the series begins, Galadriel.
I think he's adding some stuff there. To me, I agree. It does. It's not what as we've said, it's not exactly how I envision Galadriel. And obviously them saying commander of the northern armies. We have to see how that happens, right? Like all we have is these taglines, these stills, and the teaser. You could say the same thing about Aragorn, and people would freak out because, I don't know, he's not king yet, but he's gonna become king, right? Like you could say like, Viggo Mortensen playing Aragorn, king of the men or something like that, and people would freak out because, oh, he's not king, he's a ranger from the north. So let's just see how they do this. To me, it didn't look like she was the leader of the northern armies when she's climbing a mountain with like a handful of people behind her. So I think there's going to be some build up there that she has to gain the respect maybe, or she has to recruit them somehow. Let's just see how it plays out. I think it's a little too preemptive to criticize that she's going to be leading people when, I mean, Aragorn leads people. I mean, look down here, bottom right, for Frodo. He's leading everyone to their doom, and yet he builds up to it, and then it works in that moment for me. I feel it. So yeah, anything else to add to that? I feel like sometimes it's a bit too harsh because we don't have any information.
Exactly. No, we'll just continue. Yeah,
all
I don't
right.
have anything.
Is hunting down the last remnants of Morgoth and Sauron's collaborators who claimed the life of her brother. The Third Age and the adventures of Frodo and Sam and the Fellowship awaits some thousands of years in the future. Just for a little context, Galadriel did not take part in any of the wars of the First Age and any of the battles of the Second Age. This is all new stuff. And just to be fair, we don't know if my prediction is completely true yet. I predicted that a fully armored warrior Galadriel would be leading an army of all-female Númenóreans. Then, of course, there's Don Lemon as...
I think we're going to get to Don in the next episode, so I think we'll just end with his prediction about an all-female squad, I guess, or some sort of group of female battle-hardened elves.
I don't know if they'll do that.
I don't think they're gonna do that. I know we have seen in Hollywood a lot of these reboots where they try to star all women, but in this case, we have very few. I mean, look at this. Of all the people that are in this lead role, it seems only one is a woman. Because even that dwarf princess, I don't believe she's a lead role. I think that was just to showcase the dwarves. It seems like it's going to be Galadriel, Elrond, this guy, and that other human that they meet. And then there's going to be a side plot character of a hobbit and a wizard-looking dude. Maybe not a wizard, but an older person with them, and they're going to be going on their own adventure. So to me, there's only 2 lead females, and one is a little kid hobbit, it seems, and then the other's
Right.
Galadriel. So already, the criticism of it's going to all just be women. We haven't seen that from these stills, and we haven't seen that anywhere. That's just speculation on Nerdrotic's part, as he admits. Yeah, let us know in the comments down below. Do you agree? Do you think it's gonna end up that way, or do you think it's gonna be a bit more in keeping with the teasers that we've seen right now?
I regret to announce this is the end. I bid you all a very fond farewell.